The visual is not important here. The music is not important here. The voice is not important here. What matters are the words. If you cannot listen to the words, you do not belong here. If you understand this, welcome to the Fate Club. What is described in human language as the rise of humanity is not, from the perspective of extraterrestrial civilizations, an event that can be clearly defined or placed into a linear timeline. It is a long-term shift in how consciousness processes reality, how it responds to stimuli, and how it gradually abandons automatic patterns that once ensured survival in dense conditions. From this perspective, humanity is not moving toward a destination, but toward a simplification of its internal functioning. Observation of this process is continuous and uninterrupted. Galactic intelligences do not monitor individuals, their choices, or their personal stories. They observe the collective field, its tension, its rhythm, and the degree to which it remains identified with conflict. When patterns of fear, control, and constant reaction begin to loosen, this is registered as a change in the frequency signature of the entire species. This change is not sudden, but gradual, often invisible from within the system itself. From an external vantage point, however, it is readable as a transition from chaotic dynamics toward a more stable state. Light beings from higher dimensions do not perceive time linearly, and therefore human development does not appear random or uncontrolled to them. What humans experience as crisis, loss of meaning, or collapse of old certainties is, from their perspective, a transitional phase between two modes of existence. Their presence is neither dramatic nor visible, but stable and precise. These beings do not interfere with human decisions. They do not influence thoughts or steer civilization. Their role is to maintain continuity of consciousness during periods when old structures dissolve faster than new ones can be formed. Their influence manifests indirectly, as a slowing of reactions, as a fading need to immediately respond, fight, or defend identity. At the same time, there exist beings and civilizations operating within dimensional layers inside the Earth. They are not hidden in space, but in realities shifted beyond the ordinary spectrum of perception. For them, matter is not a boundary, but one of many ways consciousness organizes itself. These inner-Earth intelligences are connected to planetary consciousness and monitor its ability to maintain balance during transformation. Humanity is not perceived as a dominant species, but as one variable within a complex system. Their attention is focused on whether collective consciousness can change its mode of operation without destabilizing the planet. In a galactic context, Earth is a point of heightened attention. Not because it is exceptional, but because the transition process unfolds here under conditions of high density and pressure. Changes that take thousands of years elsewhere occur here within a few generations. This acceleration is not accidental. It arises from the collision of old mental structures with new conditions of reality. The result is not explosion, but gradual quieting. The galaxy does not observe humanity as a threat or as a hope. It observes it as a process of consciousness adapting within a demanding environment. What matters is whether consciousness can release control without collapsing identity or destroying its own foundations. Another layer of observation exists beyond known frameworks of space and time. At this level, there are no beings or forms, only fields of coherence and incoherence. Humanity is perceived here as a single organism with distributed awareness. When individuals lose interest in old conflicts, this is registered as a collective shift. When the need to prove, persuade, and dominate diminishes, the internal architecture of the species changes. This change is readable across dimensions as stabilization, not as achievement. The transition process includes an even deeper layer that concerns not actions, but the silence between them. Extraterrestrial intelligences observe not only what humanity does, but what it stops doing. It is within these pauses that the automatism governing civilization begins to dissolve. In these quiet intervals, collective consciousness releases old narratives of power, guilt, and constant struggle. From a galactic perspective, This is a rare moment in which a civilization does not immediately replace old systems with new ones, but allows them to burn out naturally. This state is unstable, yet necessary. Light beings of higher dimensions perceive this period as an open field. They do not provide answers, because answers would prematurely close the process. They remain present as silent equilibrium, preventing the void from being filled with fear. Beings of Earth's inner dimensions register the change as a shift in planetary resonance. As collective tension decreases, the distribution of energy across layers of reality changes. This shift has consequences far beyond human perception. On a galactic scale, the entire process appears as a reduction of noise. Not technological noise, but mental noise. As the noise diminishes, humanity becomes more legible to higher levels of observation. From this perspective, ascension does not mean acquiring a higher level. It means ceasing to sustain what is no longer sustainable. Old structures of power, identity, and meaning dissolve not because they are destroyed, but because attention no longer feeds them. Observation continues without judgment. Support exists without intervention. And the galactic gaze remains focused on the stability of the process, not on its outcome. Humanity is neither guided nor tested, is observed during adaptation, an adaptation that unfolds at exactly the speed allowed by the release of resistance. What is occurring is neither the end of an old reality nor the beginning of a new one. It is a transition into a state that was always possible, but inaccessible under conditions of constant reaction. And it is this transition that makes humanity visible within the galactic field. If you understand this, welcome to the club.